electoral officer, Mr. Critical Mishindano. He is both, but you don't address him as Chief Executive Officer. Then we have the Director Electoral Operations, Mr. Roy Katongo. We also have our Commission Secretary, Mr. Bob Nsenga. And my name is Sylvia Walia, with my colleague from the department, Michael Chisha. I'll now hand over to the CEO to set the floor.
I think there's good distance when some have thrown away their masks. Ready? Morning, colleagues, and welcome to the Commission, media personnel, and indeed staff of the Commission, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to this briefing and indeed to the Commission this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, in the past few months, we have been updating you on the progress of the activities in terms of the electoral roadmap. As you are aware, we are currently conducting the voter registration exercise, which commenced on 9th November 2020. And indeed, the purpose of this update, of this briefing, is to update you on the voter registration exercise, which is currently in the third phase. The Commission is so far delighted with the high turnout of citizens at the registration centers, and allow me to take this opportunity to thank the public for turning out in masses and giving us a good challenge of ensuring that we capture every eligible citizen. The Commission has also noted some of the challenges that stakeholders and indeed members of the public encountered in the first phase of the voter registration exercise, and some spilling over into the second phase, and would like to assure all Zambians that the Commission has put in place various measures to address the concerns that were raised. The Commission, among some of the interventions, has increased and deployed a number of voter registration officers and voter registration kits across the country. And I'm sure if you undertake a survey, you will attest to that most centers have been beefed up. Currently, if there's any center that is being serviced by one person, please report that center so that it is dealt with. From operational side of things, all centers at least have 2 persons manning them in terms of the registration officer and a laminator. We also have centers that we have extended number of kits, so others have additional kits, some as high as 11 kits, the case of showgrounds. So take advantage of it, but don't overcrowd it. In addition to that, the Commission has also extended hours of operation at civic centers across the country and selected registration centers in 3 categories as follows. Category 1, this is 06 to 22 hours registration centers. These are Mchinga Primary School, this is Matero constituency, Nelson Mandela Primary School, Matelo constituency, Kizito Primary School, Matero constituency, Chilenje Community Hall, Kawata constituency, University of Zambia, this is Munali constituency, Northmead Primary School, Lusaka Central. So these are operating from 6 to 22 hours. Category 2, we have the 24/7, meaning that they're operating throughout for 7 days a week, and these centers don't close. These are civic centers across the country. So all civic centers across the country are operating on 24/7 basis, and selected registration centers in Lusaka, which include Munali Boys Secondary School, this is in Munali constituency, Matero Community Hall, this is Matero constituency, Roma Parish, this is in Mandevu constituency, Kawata Community Hall, that's Kawata constituency, Chawama Primary School, that's Chawama constituency, Twashuka Primary School, that's Kanyama constituency, Evelyn Horn College, that's Lusaka Central, and indeed our own ECZ Voter Education Resource Center in the Lusaka Agriculture Showgrounds. Category 3, 07 hours to 18 hours. All registration centers that are not mentioned in category 1 and 2 are operating within this category. Allow me to welcome our sign language interpreter, slightly delayed. Welcome. The Commission has continued to monitor the situation in all registration centers and remains alert to any situation that may require its attention. So we have a 24/7 surveillance system for all registration centers. The Commission is therefore appealing to all eligible Zambians not to get discouraged, but to continue their enthusiasm to register as voters as they participate in the 2021 general elections and elections beyond next year. The Commission would also like to reiterate its call to some unscrupulous people that are intentionally taking advantage of the situation to register more than once. The Commission has put in place a mechanism to detect double or multiple registration, and anybody who's found out will be liable for prosecution and may be fined, imprisoned, or both. As such, members of the public must refrain from such acts. Again, please, citizens, there is no way you can vote twice. Whoever is feeding that information, it's a fallacy. It cannot happen under the current system. Even if you manage to obtain 2, 3, 4 cards, the system will be able to detect you. You will not be able to. So please refrain. You just end up having yourself imprisoned, which we don't want to get to that path. So please refrain from doing anything that will bring you trouble. Allow me also to apologize for the inconvenience experienced yesterday in selected centers across the country due to the automatic logout feature on the kits. Some of our officers were unable to log into the system, hence delaying the commencement time. Let me mention that this is a security feature embedded in the kits to cut off at the end of the registration exercise to ensure that no one can conduct registration after the close of the exercise. So as we have set now, when it's 12th December, the system will automatically close, implying that after that, nobody can register. And it's for a very simple reason. The kits are spread throughout the country, some very hard to reach, and we don't want anybody to exploit that system in transit of having to collect the kits where they are. So they automatically log off when you set a preset time. So the Commission had preset the kits to log out on the 26th of November 2020, which was the end date before the postponement, and this cannot be overridden until expiry. Registration officers were guided accordingly on how to log in after the expiry, but however, some failed, and we had to urgently send technical supervisors to assist. And I'm pleased to announce that all centers are now operational. So instructions were provided, and sufficient training was also provided to the registration officers on what to do when the kits, in terms of the expiry date, logged them out. But unfortunately, some were unable to undertake the instructions as provided, and therefore couldn't. And we had to send technical supervisors to assist in that exercise. And these were only in selected centers. Most of them, I'm pleased to announce, that were able to do that, and they did continue the registration exercise smoothly. Let me also take this opportunity to state that the Commission has made tremendous progress in registering voters, and the following cumulative statistics have been recorded in the past 2 phases of the voter registration exercise. Phase 1, as was announced by our Honour the Vice President in Parliament, 1,106 was what was recorded in phase 1. Phase 2, which ended this Tuesday, correct, Director? Phase 2, which closed this Tuesday. So Wednesday was day 1 for phase 3. So phase 2, which closed this Tuesday, was 1,598,426. 1,598,426. That's approximately 44% increase from the first phase, bringing us to a total of 2,704,426. 2,704,426. So that is the total for phase 1 and phase 2. I know a lot of you want the breakdown of the registrations per region, and it's one of those questions I'm sure you have put in your diaries. Unfortunately, I'm unable to give you those breakdowns for a very simple reason. The registration exercise allows for one to register from any point to vote from any jurisdiction. So one can register from Lusaka to vote from Chipata. One can register from Mongu to vote from Chiluli. So to guard and to ensure that we don't have numbers that are not reflective of what is on the ground, that data will only be made available at the end of the exercise after the aggregation of the data from across the country, because that is when we will know what number is voting from where, because currently it is not possible. The kits are not linked, and the disaggregation has not been done. So I can give you a number for Lusaka, which at the end of the exercise might shrink drastically, and that might not sit well with stakeholders. So there might be a perception that one region has registered these numbers. Meanwhile, those numbers don't belong to that region. Those citizens that were registering from that region were doing it from convenience point of view, and their registration centers could be elsewhere. So that data will only be available at the end of the registration exercise. We will provide the cumulative data for now. I hope that is clear. This was mentioned even by our Honour the Vice President in Parliament, that we did note that this had continued. Before we conclude, this will be a very short briefing. Before we conclude the program, I would like to take this opportunity again to appeal to the general public to observe the Ministry of Health guidelines on COVID-19 as they go to register as voters in the registration centers so as not to contribute to the numbers of cases of COVID-19. All Zambians must therefore observe social distancing, mask up, wash their hands regularly, or sanitize as they visit registration centers. This is very, very important. We have provided sanitizing facilities, especially for the biometric capture, and please insist where it is not that the officers avail them. It is important that we do not contribute to the transmission of COVID-19. Finally, the Commission would like to commend leaders and indeed all stakeholders who have taken a leading role in registering and encouraging eligible Zambians to register as voters. I also wish to thank all eligible Zambians who have taken time off their busy schedules to visit our static and mobile registration centers to register as voters, and appeal to all eligible citizens who have not yet registered as voters to do so. I thank you.
Thank you very much, CEO. I can see that everyone is satisfied. This is now time for questions and answers. Please tell us your name and then ask your question, and tell us also the organization you are coming from as you ask your question or do make any contribution. And please, there's an attendance list that we are taking around. Please make sure that you put your contact details there so that we don't leave you out for events like this. So any questions? I'll take 3 at a go before the CEO responds. Okay, I'll start from here. 1, 2, 3. Please. That's all?
There has been a cry by some section of society that it's risky for them to be working in the night to acquire the voter registration card. So as the commission, can you put it into consideration, or is it possible for you to extend the days for voter registration?
Thanks, Kasma, for doing this once again. My question is twofold. One hinges on the registration process. According to the statistics we have given, it reverberates that we might not meet the 9 million voters required in the 8 days. So based on the fact that the Electoral Process Act in Section 7 provides for continuous voter registration, we're going to extend the voter registration process probably at the period which will make us satisfied that we have the required numbers of voters. Then 2, with regard to the security of the infrastructure where the kits are put in place, what security measures are you putting in place following an instance in Masabuka where the center was ransacked and they stole some money? Thank you.
Next. Oh, we have 3. Okay. We'll now allow for feedback.
Thank you so much for those questions. I think the 3, with the exception of the security one, basically speaking the same thing. You're all asking the possibility of extension. Let me mention here categorically, at this point in time, there's no intent on the part of the Commission to extend the voter registration exercise. That decision can only be considered once we are done with the voter registration exercise. As it stands, there is no intention on the part of the Commission to extend the voter registration exercise. It's important to note that as a Commission, we are continuously reviewing the numbers as they come in, and would advise the nation indeed after the exercise has been concluded, that is 12th December 2020. We are confident that the statistics are going to improve As you have noted, second phase, we've had almost a 44% jump. In the third phase, we actually expect an exponential increase and even a higher increase in the fourth phase. One might ask what magic will lead to that. And I could sense, I'm now telepathic, I can read people's minds. One, my colleague over there. What magic are we going to apply? You will note that a number of measures that have been put in place are coming now into fruition. Most of them will take effect in the third phase. And by fourth phase, you see that all these now would have been settled and all the measures that would be put in place, both in terms of the human resource as well as the additional provision in some areas of kits and so on, that would have been done. So you see an increase. The deployment of additional staff commenced in the first phase when we had challenges, and we have seen that there has been an increase in the registration of numbers in the second phase, but this is continuous across the country in terms of staff deployment, and some, as we are speaking, are still being deployed. So the second phase, we did observe an increase of about 44%. Third phase, based on the deployment and additional staff and measures that have been put in place, we expect a further increment. Come the fourth phase, everything would have been in place, there will be no issues. We expect a much higher increment. So we'll only be able to ascertain where we'll be and the possibility, if at all, of consideration of extension. That will be done after the exercise has been concluded. But let me also mention to Hessen that that is not on the table at the moment, simply because of the electoral calendar. Electoral processes are not isolated. Voter registration exercise is also not isolated from what other aspects we need to do as a commission. There are other equally important activities that need to follow after the voter registration exercise, including the publication of the register, verification of the register, cleanup of the register, and of course the issue of deduplication for those of you that think you are going to vote twice when you get 2 cards. In addition to that, it's the same register that will have to be used for nomination process. So the certification of register, as you are all fully aware, is slated for 9th May 2021. So all exercises with regards to the voter registration exercise has to be concluded by 9th May before we proceed into the nomination of all categories, starting with the council chairperson right up to the presidential candidates. So we also have to be mindful of that, especially that we have a constitutionally enshrined date for the polls, which is 12 August 2021. So we are working with very limited time. However, like I said, the Commission continues to observe the environment, and we will advise accordingly when the time comes, if need be.
Okay.
Sorry, there was the issue of security at centers. We have beefed up security in all centers. Each registration center at least has a uniformed officer. Those that are considered to be high-threat areas, we have additional officers. But we also have those that are on standby to quell any disruption or violence, which we hope will not be the incident. So please be rest assured that there's sufficient security to secure both the centers and indeed the general public. And we have taken note of that, including those that are operating 24/7 at night.
I'll take another 3 questions, and this time I'll start from there, 1, 2, and then we can have 3 here. You can start.
My name is Precious Diatumba from Zambia. Recently, the president did say that the commission is frustrated because people are showing up for 2 days. So I just want to find out, was the commission fully funded when it comes to budget? What is really causing this? Is it resources?
Next.
My name is Darius Jonya from Diamond TV. it's just with great concern that most citizens coming from areas where security is a concern, when with the extension of the voting system up to 24 hours, what measures have you put in place with the police to make sure that, one, they are not really apprehended in the night because of the curfew, and also to be protected, because most of them don't have private vehicles when they're moving at night, and they stay for a longer time waiting to vote in the queue and then later leave late in the night. Have you put in place the security measures to protect their...
Okay, thank you for your questions. I'll let the CEO respond.
Thank you. Funding. What is causing the hiccups? Firstly, I think we are faced with a good problem as a commission in terms of turnout. The turnout was overwhelming, and indeed the citizens did respond to the call on the part of the commission, including our stakeholders. The commission did continuously put out a plea to stakeholders, both civil society, the public, political parties, that let them mobilize and ensure citizens turned out in numbers during the voter registration exercise. And that was done just that. And that created a good problem for the commission in terms of the overwhelming turnout, which in the first phase, we were actually overwhelmed as a commission based on what we had put in place as the infrastructure, especially with regards to human personnel. Like I provided in my brief, we have since doubled and tripled, quadrupled in some, in terms of the human resource deployment, and you can see this taking effect. A number of centers, there are some that are now even running dry. I'm getting reports now of centers that don't even have people, and I'm even getting requests for moving to go to centers that are overwhelmed. So measures have been put in place. Sufficient personnel now, we're confidently, is now in place, and infrastructure is in place. Fully funded as yet, not yet fully met the resources. We are currently, I need to cross-check as of today how much we were. As of last week, we were at 470 against the 672 that we are supposed to be funded for. And this commitment remains firm on the part of the Treasury, and they do release these funds on a regular basis as requested for. With regards to the quality of the voter's card, we knew even from the onset that this would come out. This was not an accident. It was intentional on the part of the Commission. It's a design issue which we came up deliberately, taking into account security concerns of the past card that we had. It's not visible by the naked eye, and everybody just, because it's soft, you take it, it's of poor quality. To the contrary, the current card is actually superior when you look at it in reference to the old card. There are a number of features that have been embedded that are not visible to the naked eye, but also one that is very prominent is the issue of securing the barcode. The old card, which has a material which is foldable in the sense that when you fold it, it leaves a mark. So when you put a mark on the old card, it will mean that one would not be able to use the barcode. And this was a problem, especially for most remote parts of the country. Most of their cards were not able to be read in the system, as that would be distorted when they fold the card. And the current card, the strength also lies in its flexibility, what people are now seeing as poor quality. One is able to fold it, and it will not interfere with the reading of the barcode. And it's a very important feature, security feature, for identifying individuals. There's information that is embedded on that. There's also another key factor for you to note. I'll not divulge everything about it, but there's also another key factor to note, is that this card, when you attempt to delaminate it, you know what it means to delaminate. Open it up. you would destroy it. The old card you would be able to delaminate, and those that are very sophisticated would be able to put a different face on it. So there are security features to it. So it's not an inferior card by any means. It's deliberate, intentional on the part of the Commission. This was provided by a firm that deals in security provision. It's a global firm by the name of ProofTag. It's a French company. On the part of the cost, I'll have to check. All our procurements are public, as you know. And if anyone took interest to follow through, this information you would have known. But I could check. Our procurement manager is not here, but it's something I can avail later. What's the other one? The curfew issue. I'm not aware we have a curfew. Is there a curfew currently underway?
In some locations, apparently.
In some locations?
Yes, some locations have curfew, which starts around 22 hours, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll definitely look into that and see. Tim, if we can just check, we'll obviously be able to engage the police command to see how we can ensure that we facilitate
to certain registration centers, thereby disturbing the process of those that have already been there. So I wanted to find out if the Commission is aware, if at all maybe they're considering engaging some political parties on this matter. Then on the second one is concerning the online registration. I stand to be corrected, but prior to the registration, before it started, you mentioned that if one registers online, they will be able to register at a certain booth at the registration center and not actually queuing up with those that have not registered online. So I need to find out how that is going, if at all the Commission is implementing that. Okay? Ask your question. You can come closer.
My name is Celia Banda from Millennium Lab. I wanted to find out who is monitoring the exercise. Have you contracted with the company?
Who's monitoring, sir?
The exercise.
Monitoring the exercise.
Yes. Have you contracted with the company?
Maybe just an addition to my earlier question as regards to the cards. My interest really is to find out from the Commission on how long the current cards last, as in the durability of the cards, if you can estimate. I know you have already answered to my earlier question, but I'm just looking at
How long it
the
can
10
last?
years time frame, because that's a card that can be used in future elections.
Yeah.
I'll allow for responses to your questions.
Thank you. On how long the card can last, be rest assured it can last more than the current card, that's for sure. But in terms of the length, I'll have to check. Like I said, people are deceived because it's softer than what you have. But be rest assured it's a much superior card in terms of the features that it carries with it. And indeed for serving the purpose that is intended. If the country does what it's supposed to do, this actually will be the last time that the nation will actually be conducting voter registration exercise. As you know, there is a project under Home Affairs, the NRIS project, which commenced some time back, and as a nation, we intend to move to the one-card system. So at that point, there will be transition where we'll be using one card for a number of aspects, your ID, your NRC, your voter's card, your driver's license, and so on, like it's in many jurisdictions. So we hope that if that project moves very fast, of course, as a commission, we still maintain our integrity in terms of our database of the voters that we're supposed to do. We will not be able to use this card and you transition to the new card system. And we will not have these challenges of registration. People will automatically transition as you become of age, you transition to become a voter. And I hope that stakeholders will be able to support such very progressive innovations that are underway. But be rest assured that the current card, even if that doesn't come into play, will last long. I'm sure when you look at the expiry dates, it stays what? For those that have registered? 2030. So 2030, that should give you an indication of how long we intend to either do a clean-up, another process, or how long that card will be able to last. Political party cadres, yes, this has been something that we are fully aware. It's a concern. We've engaged with political parties, and I must mention that this vice is rife with all political parties, of course, all in the name of both ruling and opposition, not all in terms of all the political parties that we have in the country. And we have engaged them. It is a good and bad problem. Good in that they're mobilizing stakeholders to come and register. Every citizen needs to register, whether you're a cadre or not, whether you belong to, you're already decided as a voter or not. But you have to register. What we are asking of the stakeholders, especially the political parties, is let them ensure there's civility, they do not interfere with the process as is being undertaken, and avoid ferrying of these cadres to different jurisdictions other than where they're supposed to be. Let them mobilize and call for their stakeholders and their supporters to go and register within that jurisdiction. Because if you're moving them out of the jurisdictions, you're creating problems in other jurisdictions. That has to be managed. But also, no preferential treatment will be provided on the part of the Commission. Every citizen is equal before the law, and if one is in front, took the time and effort out of their busy schedule to wake up early and go and line up, nobody should be moved away from that queue or moved back in the queue because somebody has ferried political party cadres. That is unacceptable. We have reinforced police and security, and we have also instructed our officers to ensure that there is order and priority is given according to the guidelines that have been provided. Of course, there is a queue that will cater for everybody, able-bodied as it were. Centers are also encouraged to have a separate queue for persons living with disability, and of course for the elderly. So those will be given priority. So you will see in certain instances, if there's nobody on the queue that has a disability and one comes up, they'll be moved right to the front to ensure that they are attended to. The same applies to the elderly. So if an elderly person comes through, they will be ushered right to the front so that they can be attended to and given priority. Any other category has to line up like anybody else. With the exception of the pre-online, we have designated centers. I don't have the list on me for those pre-online designated centers. But where you have two kits, again, you will have one kit that is allocated to the pre-online registration to attend to only those that are doing pre-online. Let me mention that we've had challenges on the pre-online. One has to do with those that are in the queue. If at a particular time there's nobody who has done pre-online registration, that kit will start servicing those that have not done pre-online registration. And when somebody who has done pre-online registration turns up to be attended to, it's raising challenges for the registration officers because those that are in a queue are refusing to give way to that individual, saying that we had come earlier and we are queued up, so you can't give priority. And this is where we are encouraging the public, please do pre-online because you get the priority in terms of the registration exercise. We have taken note of the challenges that some did face with regard to pre-online, which also had to do with the training of some of our officers on the ground who alleged that there was no network, there's no such thing. The kids work offline and the data is uploaded every day. Once one is approved through the pre-online registration exercise, and therefore it's the responsibility of the officers to ensure that they upload the data on the kit and they're able to register people and not turn away. And therefore, where one faces that challenge, we encourage them to contact the ECZ call center immediately, and they will be attended to accordingly. Monitoring exercise, I don't understand really what is meant. We have independent observers that can monitor, and those are accredited. Whether we've hired a company, I don't get, you need to clarify what is meant by your question.
Could you just clarify your question so that, what did you mean by monitoring?
Okay. So for those that have come through and requested for accreditation, so far I know of only one, CCMG, which has been accredited to undertake the monitoring, the observation of the exercise. And of course I have a few now that are coming that will be accredited. But in terms of observers, independent observers, it's only CCMG, unless I've missed out anybody.
That's CCMG.
Okay. Unless there's one or two burning questions, would like to close.
There's three burning questions.
Three. 1, 2, 3. Then there's another one.
Yeah,
4.
we can finish
Okay.
all of them.
Let's. I'll start from there. You'll be the last since you've asked twice. So I'll start from there.
From Zambia. Mine is in relation to breakdown in terms of regions for the people of breakdown. But just a word on this. You said it's right now the statistics won't be accurate unless towards the end. So what would be your word of advice? Because some people are circulating the same breakdown, and I've noticed some are even civic leaders. Maybe just your word of advice to those people, because I feel there may be some mistrust if at the end you give statistics that you take out the one that's circulating now. Or maybe your word of advice to those people.
Thank you.
Melon Sanga from the master. I would love to find out how many water registration officers that you have engaged so far.
The additional.
Yes. Together with the ones that you engaged.
Okay. There was another question.
So knowing that this time we have people appointed, I think I didn't hear any correctional center being a registration center. Like I want to find out, or maybe do they have a separate period for them to register as prisoners?
And the last from there. There is.
If I hear you, I think it could be an addition to my question on the image. You know that these elections, image will be voting, and especially it's ongoing. If you can give us an update as regards to them registering as voters, and also there were concerns that were raised during that meeting. You bring us up to speed. Those concerns have been happened.
Last.
Right.
We can have.
Thank
your
you.
question.
I'm Jimmy Kanasha from CBC Television. Has there been any efforts made to engage some of these civilians who offered to assist the ECZ through these registration centres? Has there been any efforts made to engage them officially? And if not, what steps should be taken for them to do so?
We'll now give responses.
Thank you. I'll start with the last one. What efforts to engage? First, let me mention that all those that were volunteering, none of them put that officially to the commission to assist. They were doing it, I think, as we all know, for publicity, social media, and so on. You go to a center and you offer yourself for a few seconds. So none put forward any official request to provide services as a volunteer in any other form, in one form or the other. But let me also hasten to mention that electoral processes are only managed by the Electoral Commission of Zambia. And one has to be trained, and one has to be put through the system, and indeed you have to be sworn in to ensure integrity and credibility of the process. We wouldn't want to have people that would basically undermine the credibility of what we are doing as a commission. This is why we actually said thank you for the assistance that is being offered in the public. Of course, it didn't come officially to us, but we said, please stay away. We have observed the challenges that are on the ground, and we are going to do the needful. And this is why we even led to the recruitment of additional staff to be able to provide that service. I did indicate that every registration officer now is being supported by a laminator, and in certain instances we've provided for additional registration officers and indeed additional laminator. Which brings me to the total number of registration officers in terms of the question. Currently, the addition that we've recruited is 1,100 to beef up. This is comprised of both laminators and registration officers. For those that are doing additional, both in terms of the shifts, to manage the different shifts, one cannot work throughout. There was an outcry bending out from our staff, a very genuine one. They're doing a commendable job, and allow me to also thank the staff throughout the country. Under such stressful conditions, they're putting in extremely a lot of effort to ensure that every citizen is captured. And I call on the public to please be patient with our people on the ground and indeed show some level of kindness. We unfortunately have observed certain instances and reports where the citizens have turned violent on our registration officers. They are trying their level best to ensure that they remain professional and capture you. And as a commission, we'll do our level best as well to support them to do their job efficiently, effectively, and in a very conducive environment that is as less stressful as possible. This is in addition to what was already deployed. So the additional staff that has been added is 1,100. In terms of the statistics, what is the advice? Like we've always reiterated, there's only one institution in this country constitutionally mandated to manage elections, and that is the Electoral Commission of Zambia. Anything else any other information that is given out there that is not coming from the Electoral Commission of Zambia is not official and must be treated as such. So all those statistics that are being put out there, be it from officials, as is being alleged, whether politicians or otherwise, is not official. The only entity that will announce statistics is the Commission directly or through Her Honor, the Vice President in Parliament. Other than that, please treat any other information as unofficial and should be treated as not true and not factual. This is very important. Statistics are extremely important. And this is why, as a commission, we've also seen it fit not to give as per registration in terms of what numbers have been captured where. Because the system allows for people to register from anywhere to vote in their preferred choice of polling station anywhere in the country. So, an illustration, for example, if Lusaka, for argument's sake, at the end of the exercise, recorded 3 million just registrations. After the database is cleaned up, we disaggregate the data, that number reduces to 1.5 million. What is the public going to say about those statistics? That the Commission has manipulated, isn't it? So we need to be very, very careful with these statistics. So only when the data is disaggregated, we know where people are voting from based on the registration. It doesn't necessarily mean if one region has higher numbers, those numbers belong to that region. That may not be true. And this must be noted very carefully. So until the exercise is concluded, that's when you are going to know who has voted, who's voting from where in terms of the registration exercise. Prisons voting, we did put out an announcement that prisons registration, voter registration, not voting, prisons voter registration will be conducted in the last phase of the exercise. Who knows the last phase of the exercise? The dates? Somebody's holding a deployment schedule. Does it have the last phase? That's the week ending the 12th of December. Yeah? That is when we are going to conduct prison voter registration. Not prison voting. They are two different things. Prison voter registration. I think I've answered the questions, unless I omitted any critical question as we wind up.
Maybe just an addition on security mechanism in prison as you register the voter. How is going to grow out the process of ensuring that the process is transparent?
We'll communicate to the stakeholders as we commence, but security, I mean, there's a place that is secure. It is the prison. No one can question the security nature of those places. They are very organized. They have more than enough security there. So we are not worried about that aspect. But we'll definitely inform the stakeholders that these are the centers that will be serviced and these are the times within which the voter registration exercise is going to be undertaken.
Okay, I think we are coming to the end of the program that we had for this morning. I hope that I'll receive fewer questions from all of you between today and tomorrow, since everything has been addressed. If the CEO has time, he might be able to answer some exclusive questions for some of you that might have those ones. But otherwise, we've come to the end of the briefing. We want to thank you so much, colleagues, for coming. Thank you very much.
Thank you, colleagues.
There are some refreshments.